Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. We're doing another perfect concert playlist. This time we're going to be doing some more Southern country... I can't talk. Early mornings. Southern rock bands. Southern country bands seems like an obvious. Most country bands.
Never mind.
You know, them Northern Canadian country bands are very popular. Good day.
Shania Twain was pretty popular.
Oh, you know what? You are correct. I bet you there's some country bands from Canada that we don't even think of.
Truth. A whole lot of country up there, so.
Yeah. So this episode we have 3 more bands. Now this one is a little bit of a cheat because we're trying to go chronologically through the 70s up to the 80s. But I wasn't sure. Now I think upon reflection, I think maybe I would have kept it at 20 songs and just 10 from, CCR and John Fogerty and ZZ Top. But I wasn't sure at the time. So the mission is we added the Black Crowes because they do have a 70s Southern rock vibe. They're like the only ones during that time period, I feel like, that brought back that Southern sound.
They did.
There's a genre, and apparently I'm the only one that knows this even existed, called jangle rock. Which, if you were to boil it down to the essentials, jangle rock is Spin Doctors, Blues Travelers, and Counting Crows. But none of them really feel Southern rock. Black Crowes, I feel like, may have been the first push towards that jangle rock. I don't even know what the jangle means, but it's just kind of like that lighter, like tambourine rock that's kind of danceable.
Yeah, I can see it.
Like Gin Blossoms, they're considered jangle rock.
Okay, I'm gonna have to look this up.
Anything that James Davenport, our college friend, and what was the other guy's name that we knew in that band, Flipside?
Joey.
Joey, that was jangle rock. The kind of stuff you could play in bars and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh.
But, so we're going to start off. I can't remember who went first last time. Do you?
Not a clue.
Okay, I'll flip this squash and see what happens. No, I'm just kidding. You can go ahead and go first with your first band of the 3.
If you're going to flip the squash, you need to be videoing it, because I want to see what happens.
It's not going to go well. It's going to be a mess.
Okay, so we're starting off. Who are we starting off with?
Well, I think it's kind of an obvious that you would probably start off the concert with Black Crowes as the opener, since they probably have the least amount of songs.
That's good, because I was struggling on this one. I wanted to go into this knowing how much I loved them when they first came out, and as they went on, I have to be honest, it felt a lot more like really good music underlying, like backing up someone reading poetry.
Yeah, well, the band was falling apart by 2000. The two brothers were fighting so bad they could barely even get them in the studio to record.
It really felt like they were kind of, I hate to be harsh, because musically, fantastic, don't get me wrong, but lyrically, felt like they were phoning it in.
Yeah, the first 3 albums are pretty strong, and then after that, it does feel like the way it was with Oasis, that the band tore themselves apart because they were fighting so much.
Yeah. That's it's unfortunate that fame can do that to some people. Anyway, I'm going to start off, obviously, with the hard hitters. Shake Your Money Maker was their first album, I think.
Yep.
I think they released them. This is back in the day, in the 90s, where everyone was releasing singles on cassettes, and there was 2 or 3 songs on there, so I think they released 2 or 3 singles that way with other tunes on it that ended up going somewhere else. But so those came out first, obviously. Shake Your Money Maker, I had Hard to Handle, and Twice as Hard, and She Talks to Angels, in that order. I really love She Talks to Angels. Got that kind of... this is what I expected from them going on. When they do the slower tunes, man, he's awesome. Vocally, he's just... there's nobody else like him, in my opinion.
Right.
As far as how he sounds. When they start doing more of the heavier, faster driving stuff, the music's great. Later on, not earlier on, but later on, that's what I was getting at. It just didn't feel the same. But there are a few hits that stuck out. Remedy would have been my next one. That's off Southern Harmony Musical Companion. Let Me Share the Ride. It's kind of a fun one. That's off Three Snakes and One Charm. Appaloosa. I believe that was another slower one that was in '09. And that was what I was talking about. It started to get to the point where everything around Appaloosa was not that great. But that was another one of those slower ones where lyrically he sounded like old Black Crowes, you know?
Yeah. What do you feel like they started turning into the way the Doors were? Those last two albums by the Doors were a lot of Jim just meandering, just because we talked about it when we did that episode. Is The End was a huge hit, even though it's kind of like, what the hell is going on here? But that, for some reason, he took that as, oh, I need to do this now, and less singles. And that's what the Black Crowes started to feel like. After Amorica, which I think is their 94 album, is when it slowly starts to fall apart like that.
Yeah, I couldn't get anything off that album. But that's just me personally. If you like it, more power to you. Maybe I'm missing something, but until Before the Frost, Until the Freeze is where I stopped in '09. I couldn't go on beyond that. Not that they had much beyond that, if I remember correctly. No. But Appaloosa would have been number 6, and I had last song I had was The Last Place That Love Lives, which was lyrically, actually, I think pretty good. Another slower song, of course, and that's all I've got for the Black Crowes.
All right, so mine is
just sad. I really wanted to. I wanted them to continue being what they were when they first came out. But
I remember we were all crazy for them in that freshman year of high school. We're like, what is this? Because it wasn't alternative, which was just starting to break through. Because we had like the rap rock and kind of the funk too going on with like Faith No More and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and it wasn't hair rock. It was something so different and refreshing, and it is like everybody was crazy for them. For a few years there, and then it just faded away when grunge took over. Now, I'm going to say my 5 songs from them are all the hit singles. I was surprised. I had somehow forgotten they had so many hits. I really thought they were like a 3-hit kind of band. But I boiled it down to what I would like to see in concert. And so it's kind of the obvious ones, but Hard to Handle, I think, is the best way to open because they have that that warm up kind of like beat that's going to wake the audience up immediately.
Yep.
Then I'm going to go into Remedy, Twice as Hard for number 3, Jealous Again for number 4, and Kicking My Heart Around for number 5. All none of the slow stuff. They're all pretty much kick-ass rock and roll songs.
I totally forgot about Jealous as Hard. Jealous Again. Sorry, I'm mixing up words here. But Jealous Again, I forgot about that one. So maybe I have 8.
Okay. All right. So I only had 5. You had what, 7 or 8?
7.
Okay. Yeah. We're kind of winging it on this one. We didn't expect the Black Crowes to be more than what they were. So now, who is your second band if you're going to do the cons? This is where we go in different directions.
Second band. If you go off Ron in current day, I would say CCR. If you went off Ron in high school, it would be ZZ Top.
Okay.
Because oh man, I forgot how dirty ZZ Top really is. But still love them to death. But let's just go on to. I went too far. Go back, man. ZZ Top. I'm going to go with ZZ Top.
All right, so you're going to go with ZZ Top next.
Yes. All right, so starting off. Sorry. So I got LaGrange from Tres Hombre. I love that tune. Here's one that I had totally forgotten about. And there's a little trivia I've got for this one. You might be interested in. I heard it on the X.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, yeah. That's a later one, right? That's like 96 or something.
Go ahead.
Isn't that from like mid-90s?
Said no. I heard it on the X. It was actually off Fandango, 1975.
Oh. Okay, never mind.
But it was re-released. Some of their albums were remastered and everything, like 2 or 3 times probably. But there's a line in the song that goes, "We can all thank Dr. B who stepped across the line with lots of watts. He took control for the first of its kind." Any ideas who Dr. B is?
Nope. Probably a DJ that was just very popular. I believe they're talking about the X out of Los Angeles.
Close. Technically, I think he was, but he actually broadcasted south of the border.
Oh, okay. Mexican
Wolfman
radio.
Jack.
Okay.
Wolfman Jack. Dr. B was Robert Bob Weston.
Huh.
For those of you who don't know, Wolfman Jack, or at least let's say Southern radio station, like back in the 60s?
Yeah.
Into the 70s, they had, so American radio stations top out like 50,000 watts. That's their cap. A lot of DJs back in the day would they'd ship their stuff south of the border and have it broadcasted from there where there was no full cap. And you'd have radio stations that were like 250,000 watts.
Wow.
You could hear them like practically, especially at nighttime. I think they called them medium waves or something like that. The nighttime air, I don't know how it works. I don't know the science. But you could literally hear it practically all over the United States and sometimes even over the ocean.
Wow. Do you think that Wolfman Jack's the most famous DJ that ever was? Even more than like Rick Dees and Casey Kasem?
I would say so.
I mean,
that being said, I didn't know who he was until I was much older.
Yeah, did you know that Wolfman Jack had his own cartoon on CBS? It lasted half a season.
I think I remember that, actually.
Yeah. He had like a pet parrot, and he was like traveling the countryside solving mysteries, but also being a radio DJ, but also because he was in American Graffiti.
Right. Well, the cool thing about that is that's how a lot of the bands down there got their start, because they were hearing this music that no one else would play because they got banned.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned the Doors had talked about. They got their influences from music company and played over these radio stations, as well as ZZ Top, and among a number of others. But anyway, I'm way off on a tangent here.
It's cool. The show is more than just the songs. I mean, we try to make them short minisodes, but if we got something to talk about, we got something to talk about.
Yeah, I was like, I'm looking up these songs. I don't know. I heard I was reading the lyrics as I was listening to the music. I said, "We can all thank Dr. B," and in my head, I'm like, "Who's that?" So I started looking. That's how I found all this stuff. It's kind of cool. So number 3, I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide. You still there?
Yep, I'm still here. Why?
I heard it. I thought it sounded like hung up. Okay, so number 3 was I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide. Now, the next song takes me back where it all started for ZZ Top, for me at least. First albums I'd ever heard by them were 83's Eliminator, moving on to Afterburner. So number 4 would be Give Me All Your Lovin'. Got Me Under Pressure. Sharp Dressed Man right after that. And then we're going to slow it way down, because you got to have a good ballad where you're kind of cool and chill out. Rough Boy.
That's a good one.
I love that song.
Was it Ride On, I think, is another one of theirs or something like that. It's really kind of slow, bluesy. That's the weirdest thing is there's 3 different versions of ZZ Top. There's the 70s bluesy country, Texas Roadhouse kind of band. Then there's the 80s synth-infused one. And then there's the 90s and post where they seem a little like mixture of Vegas and a little bit more like deeper blues band.
So deeper blues, they got a lot more. I mean, we got to remember they started early in life. So I'm like, by the 90s, they were old.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, before recording this, we all got sad that Dusty had died, but didn't realize Dusty died a year ago.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the first time I've done that. So.
Yeah. All right.
Well, somebody finds out about it, like, ooh, this is okay. Just so you know, kids, this is why you do research before you just jump out there on social media.
At least we did, yeah. At least we didn't do that. We told each other privately, but I'm glad we didn't do that on the show. If we had literally recorded that night, we would have said that. People were like, "Is this an old episode? What's going on here?"
Exactly. I feel sorry for the guy who wrote that article because he probably got a lot of flack. But Oh yeah, but yeah, like I said, like the later music's very grovelly and it's kind of neat. Don't get me wrong, it's neat in its own sense, but it's very definitely a different ZZ Top
Yeah,
than
yeah.
what we grew up with.
Do you think they regret the synth years? Not so much from the money, but from creatively. It seems like they kind of changed their sound. I don't like the '80s for the most part. I don't like those years.
I, I mean, that's where I got started, so maybe
Yeah.
I'm a
It's
little
weird
biased
how
there, but
it's weird how famous they were on MTV. These three old long-beard dudes, and they just knew they
Yeah.
had a formula though. They had hot chicks. They had a cool car. I even had a little miniature one of those. And it was just flashy and synthy, but I feel like they lost something of what they were in the '70s, and I think that's what they were trying to do in the '90s is
Yeah.
regain some of that like more credibility. I don't know what you want. They didn't want to be stars anymore. Kind of like the way when Aerosmith decided after that, that huge Armageddon song, they're like, we've done a lot of like power ballads.
Right.
We should probably go back to being our bluesy kick-ass band.
yeah. A lot of bands fall victim to that, where the manager or whatever the powers that be named, you want to be relevant, you want to continue to be relevant, and they think that this is the way you go to do that. I think it's a little different nowadays. Some record companies probably didn't believe so, but with today's online presence, I think you can really be yourself
Yeah.
and not sell out, and still have a really good following as far as that goes. You got a lot more freedom in that respect. But what do I know? I'm not a musician. Well, not a famous musician.
I
at
would
least,
say, yeah,
but-
you're a musician. Don't erase that.
Yeah. I play bass, but I'm no Dusty Hill. So
Is that the end of your ZZ?
no.
Okay.
Let's see, where'd we go? Rough Boy. Can't Stop Rocking. Absolutely one of my favorites from Afterburner. My Head's in Mississippi. So much fun. Now, I might get a little flack from this one because I think this is where a lot of people, if I remember correctly, a lot of people were thinking they kind of, this is where they sold out, or this is like the epitome of it, or whatever. But Double Back
Oh,
from Back to the Future.
I was worried
like
you were going to
this
say
song.
the Viva Las Vegas cover they did is fucking terrible. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes,
Apologize.
I'm with you.
is god awful. And that I think that's where they were like, we need to go back to our
Right.
roots because this is bad.
It's very possible that might have been the clincher right there.
That song isn't only bad; it's nationwide.
Nice. Okay, so I have one bonus
Okay.
from '83's Eliminator, and it's probably a love-or-hated song, TV Dinner.
You know what I just realized? I think I just gave them credit for an AC/DC song. Right On is an AC/DC blues song, not a ZZ Top. What the hell? What did I just do?
That's all right.
All right. Okay, so that is the end of your ZZ Top. Now I had ZZ Top as a closer, but it's irrelevant. It's the list. All right, so I will start off. Now most of my stuff is the more bluesy stuff. Like I said, I don't really care for the '80s stuff. There's a few in here. I'm starting off with LaGrange. I mean, it just seems like an obvious that just the way it was with Hard to Handle has that that wake up kind of. Oh, I know this song. And then gets the band lit and ready to go. I think it's a great way to start it. Tush. Why do you
That's
say
another
it?
good one.
Why does he say? I thought for decades that the song was called
Yep.
Touch. Huh?
Touch. It sounds, because it very much sounds like that's what he's saying.
Why does he say Tush? Tush. No one says Tush. What is happening?
No?
Then I'm gonna shoot almost to the end of their career. Is I Gots to Get Paid. I love that song. Gots to get paid.
I have to say, I was intrigued by that song when I was doing my research until I realized what the lighters were.
Oh,
And, it's a drug reference. But anyway.
but I thought it was a really good idea to have I Gots to Get Paid and then follow that up with I Just Got Paid.
I just got paid, exactly. That's perfect. But honestly, yes, I will agree, though. That song is very good. I think even with the whole gravelly, older voice sounding very much overly processed
Yeah.
sound, because they have to,
Uh-huh.
Um, I would have to agree with you. It's a pretty good tune. All right, go on. Sorry.
Next one is I'm Bad, I'm Nationwide.
Yeah.
And I think the only one now that I look from their synth era is Got Me Under Pressure, because that one feels the least synthy and has a really hard driving guitar work.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to follow it up with, now, these two are both for movies, and people forget they did 2 songs for movies. Do you remember me going, I think you went with me, or maybe it was Dave, I went to all over Fort Wayne looking for the soundtrack to From Dusk Till Dawn, just so I could get this single, She's Just Killing Me.
Don't. See, I was listening to a different song thinking it was from that, and I knew there was a song they did for it, but it obviously wasn't the one I was looking for.
Yeah, and at the time, they did not release it as a single. Plus, financially, it got to the point when they were on CDs that CD singles were way more expensive than cassette singles.
That's insane. I mean, honestly, it makes sense, because you could fit a whole, 2 albums on a disc.
Yeah.
Where with a cassette, you only had to put the tape in there you needed to.
Yeah, because I remember we used to get singles for 99 cents, $2. It all depended on if it was an extended, extended play. This has 4 cuts instead of 2. And they would use less tape. And then CD singles were never just one song. They're always oh, this is the other, there's so many different remixes of it, and they throw on a couple other singles. And they're more like extended plays than singles, honestly.
Right.
And I just love this song. It's really bluesy, it's really dark and weird, and I deeply appreciate it.
I agree.
And then my last one is the other one from a movie, Double Back. And why do you think you said people give you grief? What's wrong with this song? I love this song.
Like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong, but it seems to me like I remember there being something around that song when it came out that it was just very much wasn't ZZ anymore. But they're wrong.
Yeah.
It's very much still a 1980s ZZ Top, in my opinion. I don't know.
Well, it's really interesting if you think about the Back to the Future movies, is that the first one is so known for its soundtrack, and not just the old 50s songs. They had the Huey Lewis songs with it. Then there's nothing in the sequel. There's absolutely not one song, and this is the only one from Part 3. And I remember the glow kind of being off the franchise at this point. No one really saw Part 3 except for people who are just well, I guess I'll just complete the journey.
Which is sad, because I think, in my opinion, 3's the best one.
I think 3 is better than 2, but I still think the first one is my favorite.
I think maybe it's more fanboy in my case, because I like the whole Western thing.
Oh, yeah. I'm a hardcore Western guy, so I should revisit the series, because I bet you I'll like the third one even more. But I remember, they were trying hard to get some sort of relevancy, but there was really no toys they could push from the third one. At least at the time, nobody thought that, now there's a huge collector's market from anything from that series. I saw a clock with Marty and Doc that was $250 from that movie. Yeah. But
Playmobil has things out from that movie.
Yeah.
Playmobil, of all things, has collector version toys for adults.
Yeah, and this song didn't do very well. I remember it being released as a video, but it didn't do very well, and I think the glow was kind of off them. And then next year is when they did that Viva Las Vegas and their Greatest Hits collection. You don't usually do a Greatest Hits collection unless you're reintroducing the band, or your time in the limelight is kind of over with.
And then pretty much. I can't. I'm spending too much time in the hospital. All right, not to poke fun on them. That's kind of. Okay.
I don't even know what you're talking about, so just let that go.
I mean, when you think about the very end, actually, I was reading up on when Dusty. There was a story in one of the articles reading about it, about how he had mentioned. I can't remember the guy's name, unfortunately, but it was the guy who has essentially been their backup player for many years, and he said before he went, and I was before he passed away, he's like, he wanted to make sure that guy wrapped his hands around his guitar. Those were his words.
Yeah.
And he ended up taking over for him. I don't know if he's still there or not, but anyway, I thought that was kind of cool that because he spoke up, he was given this shot. Anyway.
Alrighty, so our third and final band is CCR, so it's time for our list.
if you don't have a favorite from this group, what is wrong with you?
Or they're under 30.
Right,
I'll give you an
totally.
excuse if you're under 30. Do you remember when CCR made a huge comeback for our generation?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when nobody was listening
Probably.
to CCR, and all of a sudden, I remember when
Forrest Gump.
when the grunge era kicked in, is all of a sudden everybody started like reflecting back, like the Doors became popular again, Jimi Hendrix, but CCR seemed like a precursor to grunge, like that look and that feel of authenticity.
They're very much. They did something different. It was like, if I remember correctly, my phone is just buzzing off the ringer. Anyway, sorry. I hope you guys aren't hearing that.
No, I'm not hearing anything.
So there was a series back in 88, 89, somewhere around that range. China Beach. Remember that show?
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the opening for that was it not a CCR song? Wasn't the opening song a CCR song?
It doesn't feel right, but I've never actually seen the show, but I saw the intro once.
Maybe
But
I'm
we
wrong,
were in
but-
that era, though, because we had Wonder Years and this, and they were bringing old music to a new audience.
Right. China Beach soundtrack, Reflections. There's something here about Proud Mary being in there. Anyway, going back. So I was thinking maybe I think it might have got more popular around like Forrest Gump time too, because I think that was, anything with Vietnam usually has some sort of CCR song on there anyway.
Run Through the
okay, so
Jungle
I-
and Fortunate Son are like a requirement for
Right.
any movie set in Vietnam.
Exactly. Which is why it's on my list, probably. But okay, so let's to my list. Born on the Bayou, probably
Yes.
a lot of them that everyone's really into. But,
Yeah, which also has been their songs have been in a lot of movies because that was in Return of the Swamp Thing and Hard Target.
I wouldn't be surprised. Proud Mary, Green River is honestly that whole album of Green River. I could probably
Yeah, I
just fill
almost
the
had
list
Green
with
River.
that, but
I actually forgot about it until this moment right now.
Commotion, Bad Moon Rising, all three off of that album. I left it at there. Down on the Corner, of course. Going back to Bad Moon Rising, what is it? There's a bathroom on the right. Isn't that how it goes? Something like
Yeah, I have alternative lyrics to all of these songs. Do you remember there was a time when we were listening to CCR like crazy in high school, and I think if I remember, pooping out my back door. Down in the corner, bowl of Vaseline.
Guys, let me tell you, walking down the street to class in college with this guy next to you was always a hoot. Anyway, let's see, where was I? Down on the Corner, number 6. Fortunate Son, number 7. Midnight Special. That's a good sing-along tune. Get everybody going. Get off the mic and let the crowd sing type of song. Traveling Band, one of my all-time faves. And this is the one that finally gets us out of 1969. Did you know they released 3 albums in that year?
Yeah, that's a lot. But that's back when, albums only had 10 tracks. It was a lot easier. Now
Right.
everybody feels like, well, you got to get your money's worth. Let's put on 24 tracks. I'm like, oh, that's a bit much.
The weird thing is out of the 60s, or late 60s, that's when they didn't know how to end songs.
Yeah.
They just went on. Let's see, where was I? Traveling Band. Someday Never Comes. And that's the one I got off of Mardi Gras. And that is my top 10.
Thinking about it now, the Doors and CCR were a better fit. Then what did we do? Was it Doors and the Who? Or something like that?
Probably. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Because honestly, you listen to CCR, especially the earlier stuff, they're very much a 60s band.
Yeah.
You got that vibe, but there's just something edgier about them. You were right on that. I'm like, honestly, I'm going through this. I got through all 3 of those first albums, and then in the 70s. Actually, they didn't really release a whole lot, did they? Because like everything else after that is, unless I'm missing some albums, just like live albums.
Yeah. Well, it was at 73 is when they broke up, and that's when they had the huge fight with Fantasy Records. Because John Fogerty he wrote the songs and should have owned the copyrights on those, and they should have gone back to him. But because of some contract loophole that he signed, because that's how they get you. They sign these eager kids, and they're desperate for some sort of contract, and that's when they steal your rights, and that's what sucks. And so John Fogerty he actually like went into hiatus for 8 years, and then came bursting out with his solo album. But there's no way they're ever getting back together because of the infighting. But do you remember when it was Creedence Clearwater Revisited is what you see on tour now, and they came to our college, but we didn't go because they were charging like a crap load. And I was like, "Where's John Fogerty? Never mind, I don't care."
It's not the same unless you got somebody like what's his face for Journey that sounds exactly like Journey.
Because Fogerty has a very particular voice that no one can really replicate.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so my list is starting off with maybe the most misunderstood song besides Born in the USA. Look, if you're a rich politician, please listen to the lyrics to these songs and stop using it, because you are a fortunate one. I mean, it's like they didn't even listen to the lyrics at all. And it's
If anything sounds a bit patriotic sometimes, I mean...
Yeah.
I would imagine a lot of no politician should use any music. I'm sorry. Just come on with your own stuff. Anyway,
or hire a musician to make music for you. So Fortunate Son is the one I'm starting off with. Bad Moon Rising is next. Up Around the Bend. Born on the Bayou. I put a spell on you because you're mine. They did covers.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they did cover songs, but they always put their own spin on it. Screaming Jay Hawkins did this song the first time.
Oh, yeah.
But CCR put their own spin on it, and I think it sounds... I'm going to say it's sacrilegious, but I think it sounds a little bit better.
I would venture to agree with you on that one, and I had that on my list, but there were just a couple songs I just needed to have on this list.
Yeah.
Honestly, if they had it like I'm going to come back on and do an encore, I would definitely want to hear them do that. That would be fantastic.
Well, Screaming Jay Hawkins' version is more in your face. There's something kind of mood-setting and creepy about CCR's version. Where am I at?
It's very fitting for the Bayou folk that they are, you know what I mean? It's just, anyway.
Yeah. Where am I at? Oh, so now I'm going to go into the Fogerty singles. I mean, they're obvious singles, but they're all great. Center Field is so much fun. The Old Man Down the Road, and Rock and Roll Girls. I think of his hit singles, I think Rock and Roll Girls is the one that everybody forgets about.
Yeah, I forgot about it. Sorry.
And then the last one is... we're going to wrap it back up with CCR and do Run Through the Jungle, which I absolutely love. I think goes really well with Fortunate Son.
Yep. And honestly, it's really hard to wrap them up. It'd almost be easier to pick out the songs that you didn't want to hear.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, I had to cut. There's easily we could have done a top 30 of CCR. That's when I realized I was in trouble when I was making this list. I was like, uh-oh.
Right.
There's a lot I had to leave off.
I totally left Fogerty out because I knew my list would have been just no.
Yeah, I know. It was torturous. So that is it for this episode. Next episode, we're going, finally, what I promised a few episodes ago, is the Piano Men episode. We're going to be doing Elton John and Billy Joel.
The Piano Men. Would have loved to have seen both of them in concert. That would together.
Hey, they're still both alive. You never know.
Piano Man.
All right, so that is it. Check us out on Facebook and Twitter and all your podcast hosts as Hit Rewind, and have a good one.
Have a good one, guys.